instant reaction podcast on Couch Potato Diary. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. This is following the Vegas Raiders upset win of the Kansas City Chiefs 20-14, ends up being the final. Just quickly, find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I am at Primetime Klein, twitch.tv/primetimepk, and you can email couchpotatodiary@yahoo.com. Did these for the Thanksgiving Day game, so thought I would do them again here today as my Christmas plans kind of changed over the last little bit. Got a bit of a sick puppy here, so a lot of the going out was changed. So I'm home, may as well talk about them. The Vegas Raiders with a huge upset win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Not a result any of us saw coming, right? Like the Chiefs were 10-point favorites. Yes, it hasn't been a perfect season so far, but they've come through anyway. And Vegas, like, boy, they play hard, but boy, they're kind of a bad football team. And so you just didn't expect this would be one of the banana peels that the Kansas City Chiefs would slip on. And we'll start with Kansas City, because they are the marquee team on here. They have Taylor Swift there for them, not for the Vegas Raiders. And I guess specifically for one person, but this was an ugly, ugly game from Kansas City, and it showed so much of what is frustrating about this particular team. You have a Kansas City team where Patrick Mahomes was running for his life this entire game, and I think the offensive line there is okay. I think a lot of that is credit to the Vegas pass rush, and we'll get to Vegas here in a second, but this was a Kansas City team that, like, we've known forever what the issue is with this group. And that issue is the wide receivers just aren't good enough. And you saw it again today. Plays were begging to be made by this Kansas City team, and they just simply couldn't. They passed maybe a touch behind, got to make that play, didn't. Pass downfield, it's one-on-one coverage, didn't make that play. And when you have a quarterback who is under siege the way Patrick Mahomes was all day long, you now have, like, you need to win those plays. You can't just be perfectly wide open and only able to catch a perfect pass right here for your offense to move, because it's then not going to move. It's just not. And that was one of the things you saw today. Like, no one on this team, aside from like Travis Kelce once, stepped up and made a big play for Patrick Mahomes. And Mahomes was, they made the joke a bunch. He was Houdini back there. There were so many times where he looked dead to rights and he was able to just whoop, 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 bop, 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 and he was gone. It was, from a Raider fan perspective, and look, I'm coming to you guys wearing the silver and black here. From a Raider fan perspective, it was annoying as hell while watching him escape everything and be able to make all of those plays constantly. But it's what he does. And then he ends up getting away, and then a pass falls incomplete. And a lot of it, like, most of this game and what went well for Kansas City was Patrick Mahomes running. That was where this offense really started to shine. It kind of reminded you of Buffalo a couple of years ago, where the run game was Josh Allen and the pass game was Josh Allen. And you could see, like, Mahomes was kind of getting the shit kicked out of him, and he knew the importance of this game, knew the importance of certain drives and when he needed to and when he didn't need to, but when he couldn't, there was no one there making plays. And Travis Kelce comes up with a big play, rumbling downfield for a couple, but something looks off with him too. I'm not going to say he looks old. I'm not going to say he looks washed, because fuck around, man. That was a phenomenal run where he just powered through everyone and got them into the red zone. But he does not look like a guy who can handle the workload that they are going to require him. And now look, it's the playoffs. Like, they're going to get in, probably, I guess. Like, there is still the scenario where if the Chiefs lose out and the Raiders win out, then Vegas wins the AFC West. As a Raider fan, that's not a scenario I'm holding my breath on. I still don't think this is a playoff team. But again, we'll get to that in a second. On the Kansas City side, though, maybe they're just saving Travis Kelce for the playoffs. Like, we're going to need this guy in the playoffs. Let's hope one of these kids can step up. And for a little bit, it's been Rice, but like, that's it. Like, the biggest play of the day was their punter throwing a pass. Like, that was one of the top 3 plays this team had today. They had the pass over the middle to James, who I'm not overly familiar with. They had that pass over the middle to him, where he comes up with a big play downfield that helps to set up Kansas City to get into the end zone. But this was a dreadful, dreadful offensive performance. And really, it was the offense that allowed the Raiders to win this game, where they stumble on the trick play handoff, and it goes for a touchdown, and then the pass that gets intercepted and gets taken in for a touchdown by Jones with the stare down of Mahomes and then offering the ball to a kid and ripping it away on Christmas. That was hilarious. But again, from my perspective, this was a dreadful offensive performance that you don't normally see from the Kansas City Chiefs. On the defensive side, they were tremendous. Like they definitely got wore down late. When it was time to stop the run late in the game, they just had no gas left, and Zamir White ran it down their throat and ended the ball game with two fantastic runs. But defensively, this is a very good team. Snead did a really good job of covering Devontae Adams and just kind of locking him in. They didn't allow a pass completion for 3/4 of this football game. That's not even a joke. The Raiders are now the first team since 2000 to win a game when not completing a pass after the first quarter. Defensively, like they were in O'Connell's face all game long. Aside from the end, there wasn't a ton of room for White and Abdullah and Bolden to end up getting going. The defense on Kansas City played really well and have played really well all year. If this ends up being a championship team, make no mistake about it. Well, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback and maybe the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. This defense will be the reason this team wins a championship if they are able to go through that. But top spot in the conference feels gone. The top spot in the division is still right there, but it's just barely there, and kind of highlights the Broncos loss last night. Because this would be a one-game thing now for those two sides. But for Patrick Mahomes and for Kansas City, one of these kids needs to step up in the next 2 weeks for them to figure it out. You would have thought by now someone would have come forward, and it just hasn't, and that has to be so frustrating. Like, look at how deep into the bag of tricks they had to go today to lose to the Raiders. Like they had to do a trick play to get into the end zone. They tried another trick play that ends up costing them potentially the game. Like so many different trick plays to try to get this team on track and try to get them going. And that was, it wasn't enough for Kansas City. On the Raiders side of things, the story of this game, and maybe just the story of this game in general, was the Raiders pass rush. Max Crosby and Coons were phenomenal all game long. Like there was not many times where I wrote in my notes, Mahomes, lots of time. It was Mahomes under pressure, Mahomes under pressure, Mahomes under pressure. And it is only because Mahomes is an actual literal magician, that he was able to get out of those and get anything going. I think a less experienced, less mobile quarterback is sacked about 9 or 10 times. Like if it's like Joe Burrow can move in the pocket, but with that offensive line, like they're getting to him 10, 11 times. Like this pass rush was there all game. And then that led to them getting big stops in the run game as well. And when Kansas City was trying to get something going with short and intermediate passes, that Raider defense was there. They rallied to the football so well. There is great speed on this defense, and they are a real problem now. I didn't think they would be, but Max Crosby, I don't think he should get past Myles Garrett for Defensive Player of the Year, but he should at least be nominated. And that is a real testament to the work that he has done. And you can see, like, he's a Raider, man. As far as I'm concerned, this guy is a Raider. And I've loved it. I've loved every minute of it, really. But the secondary has been better than I thought they would be. And like the secondary, it's easier to be a good secondary when the other team's quarterback is throwing off of his back foot all game long and is under pressure in that way. But no, that the defense came to play. Offensively, it was ugly. Aiden O'Connell's going to get the win. That's going to go down on his resume. He is, in my opinion, he's not an NFL quarterback. He's just not. And look, like, the bar for NFL quarterback is pretty low, given what we saw yesterday and throughout this season. But easy passes are being missed. Like passes thrown consistently behind receivers and consistently in the wrong spots. It's tough to throw a pass that to Devontae Adams that he cannot catch, but the Raiders were able to find a way. This was an ugly, ugly game from the Raider offense. But when they needed it, with the game on the line, Zamir White comes up with the plays of the game. 2 runs over to the right side that are able to get around and get into the end zone, or not get into the end zone, but get 2 big first downs. The offensive line won on a couple of key plays, and Zamir White was good enough to find the holes. It probably spells the end of Josh Jacobs with the Raiders, because White seems like he's going to be good enough. I think it would be a wild mistake to consider that the Raiders have their guy at quarterback going forward. Although, given where they're going to be drafting this year and given some of the options that we've run through on the flagship show here, Couch Potato Diary, if they wanted to stick with it for another year, I guess you maybe could. If they wanted to try to go out and get a Gardner Minshew type, maybe they could. Justin Fields would be at the top of my to-do list, but that's not that's not necessarily a viable option. But the Raiders still need their quarterback. Antonio Pierce probably is going to be the coach with how this is going down, unless the next couple of weeks are just an absolute disaster. But Antonio Pierce is probably going to be the guy. And X's and O's, a couple times they settled for field goals today. I hated it. But I think if he can surround himself with a few more experienced voices, and it seems like he's done that. He's brought in Tom Coughlin to help him out. Marv Lewis has come in to help him out as well. He's got the players, right? Like that there is no worry about this guy losing the room. He was emotional today. He was crying out on the field, knowing what this meant to this franchise and this organization to stay in this race. They went away from the feel-good story once and went to Josh McDaniels. I hope they stick with Pierce this time, at least for the next couple of years while this team figures out what they are. But playoffs are still alive for the Vegas Raiders, and first in the division, still technically alive for the Vegas Raiders as well. All right, I'm going to be doing these for all 3 games on the Christmas schedule today. If you are just tuning into this for the first time, my name is Peter Klein. I do a podcast on wherever you are getting this, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening in podcast form. It's called Couch Potato Diary. Generally comes out 5 days a week. Yes, I know I missed one last week. I'm sorry. And I've been having some video issues lately, but it seems like this is working now. So yes, I host a podcast called Couch Potato Diary. Comes out 5 days a week wherever you are consuming this content. You can find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm at Primetime Klein, twitch.tv/primetimepk, and you can email this show, couchpotatodiary@yahoo.com. Thank you guys so much. Merry Christmas. I hope you've had an amazing weekend, and I will talk to you guys in a little bit. I'm out.